Hey friends, Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Jobu, and as always, thank you guys for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Jobu Sports Report. Because without you guys, this would be nothing. And I got to tell you, I'm as excited as I can be because this is finally it. It is draft week, and we've already made it through Monday. And speaking of Monday, you know we'll be live streaming coming up real soon, 9 o'clock Eastern. So be sure to tune in and check it out. Give me your best comments and things like that. We're also doing a little draft contest where we're going to be giving away a draft hat for the person who has the Dallas Cowboys 28th pick correct. But now, speaking of the draft, the thing that's amazing about the draft is that Jobu will need a refill. The amazing thing about the draft is guys that you think are all that in a ham sandwich sometimes end up having terrible careers or even end up being bust. You know, today, Jake Long, former #1 draft pick, retired. And when you looked at that guy coming out of college, you said, man, that's going to be a beast. He's forever going to be a great player. But unfortunately, his career never really panned out. Injuries got him, bad teams. He was on 5 different teams and never lived up to the potential. And more times than not, that's usually what happens in the first round. When you look at some of the #1 picks like Jamarcus Russell, you look at Kajana Carter and, you know, Jake Long, a lot of these guys just never amount to much. My generation, it was like the Tony Mandridge, who literally was supposed to be the guy that was going to revolutionize offensive linemen. The guy was huge in comparison to everybody else. He could run. He was worked out on Muscle Beach, you know. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, but never, ever lived up to it. A lot of times it's the guys who you never heard of that become the Hall of Famers. The guys that are passed over or looked down upon. The guys with the chip on their shoulders. Not like Anthony Brown's chip on his shoulder. But you know what I mean. I got to tell you, that's really a bad tattoo. Great idea, terrible execution. But you know what I mean, though, about having that chip on the shoulder. So when you start looking at some of these players, you've got the ones that are all hyped up. The draft experts tell you that this guy is going to be great, or this guy is going to be great. This guy is a can't-miss player. Well, whenever they say he's a can't-miss player, you better stay the heck away. Because more times than not, those draft experts are wrong. If a draft expert in one of their mock drafts gets more than 33% right, that's considered fantastic. I don't remember ever passing any classes with a 33. How about you guys? So as we look at this draft, generally speaking, it takes a couple of years before you really know what you have, because you do have guys that are flash in the pan. RG3 is a great example of that. Came out, new offense, and he could run. But it turned out the guy was injury prone. Now, the thing that the Dallas Cowboys have tried to do a lot, and I understand Jerry Jones's rationale, because when you look back in the history of football, what Tom Landry did was he was always ahead of the curve. He went to black colleges and drafted players, places that other teams weren't looking at. You know, he went to track and got Bob Bullet Hayes and put him on the team. Innovation, places that guys hadn't looked before. You know, he was ahead of the curve with the shift, with the shotgun, and things like that. So Jerry Jones has tried to do that, but with the internet, ESPN, and all that, you really don't find guys in small schools that nobody knows anything about. You know everything just about everybody. So what Jerry Jones and the Cowboys have tried to do is they've tried to get the guy who has a lot of potential on the cheap. And generally speaking, that's been our second round guys. Sean Lee is an example of that. Sean Lee fell in the draft because his injuries history. And for the first part of his career, he kind of continued that whole problem with injuries. The last 2 years since he met Jobu, well, things have been a lot better. 2 Pro Bowls and one of the best linebackers in football last year. Sometimes it doesn't work out so good. You know, with Randy Gregory. Randy Gregory should have been a first-round talent guy. Had the potential, but unfortunately, he just could not stay off the weed, as Stephen A. Smith would say. I'm hoping that Jerry doesn't look for these injured project guys that can be good down the road. Because what we need right now is we need guys that are ready to go day one. Because your window is only open for so long. I know Dak is young. I know Zeke is young. But when you start looking at Tyron Smith, who's beginning to have some back injuries, when you start getting successful, you start getting picked apart in free agency, like all the players we lost in defense. So football, you got to think about the now. You've got to, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying abandon the future and sell out just for this season. But you have to start looking at guys that you can plug in now. Because right now, you've got a great nucleus of young talent. Your offensive line is young. Your quarterback is young. Your running back is young. With the exception of Jason Witten and Dez Bryant, that whole offense is young. 26 or younger. Your defense is young. So you want to get some of these young guys that are ready to start rolling and contributing right now and try and make that run for next year. Because we've been here before where everything seems like it's great. Oh, yeah, when the Super Bowl is going to be in Dallas and everybody thought this was an opportunity for a team to host the Super Bowl with their own team. But that didn't work out too well, did it? So hopefully the Cowboys are able to make some moves, possibly trade back and get some of these guys that'll be ready day one to make an impact for this team. We did fantastic last year with Will McCray being in charge of the scouting department. You look at the first-round draft picks we've had year after year, with the only one that's not panned out being Morris Claiborne, and he's gone. If we can get an impact guy in that first round or trade back and make it 2 guys, it could be a really, really good season. So, guys, be sure to tune in at 9 o'clock Eastern for live streaming tonight. And don't forget, we will be at the draft. Unfortunately, we will be following a Giant fan. Yeah. I'm still pissed at you guys for that one. So as always, friends, I'm Mark Holmes. This is Cowboy Jobu, and thank you guys for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Jobu Sports Report. And I will see you.
Hello, friends. Cowboy Jobu here at the Jobu Sports Report, reporting live here in Mexico. And as always, friends, you know I'm where the action is. We're here because, well, quite frankly, I've been deported. That's right. I have been deported from the United States, and I'm now living my life out here in Mexico. Hopefully, we'll still be able to broadcast to you guys once my buddy Mark leaves. I'm Cowboy Jobu, suffering here in Mexico.